So I'm going to do the Nw Rdr Tg, which is created by Mike at Bibliophile Bookscape. I always have to look down for that. There's a Bibliophile Reads, I think, as well. So Bibliophile Bookscape, Mike is who I'm talking about here. And he's been making tags, and he definitely seems to have a good knack for them. And it's a fun one for, kind of to encourage people to take up reading. And I am definitely not a new reader, but I figured I'd just sort of answer these questions to give you a insight in somebody who's been reading all their life, and what that is like for me, which you may share, or you may be somebody who's just like, hey, I should really actually start reading, and that's also wonderful as well. Then you've got a whole world to in front of you. So yes. The intro of this is whether you've been reading for a month or a couple of years, everyone starts somewhere. This tag is about celebrating the beginning of your reading journey and encouraging others who are just getting started, which sounds awesome to me. So the 9 prompts. First one, what made you want to become a reader? And for me, definitely what made me want to become a reader was watching my parents read. I have very vivid memory of there would be a time, usually kind of on the weekends, which would be reading time, and everyone would kind of go to their own corners and read. And I would see my parents doing this, and it became something that I got to do as well. After I'm sure they read to me, but I don't actually have any memories of them reading to me. I just have memories of me reading myself, but I assume they must have read to me themselves. So yeah. Number 2. What was the first book that made you think, I love reading? That is difficult because I've been reading forever and ever. I think of kind of some picture books, like Rupert the Bear books with like beautiful illustrations in them. I think of books that I really kind of clutched to my heart as a younger kid, like Harriet the Spy. It's like I really wanted to be Harriet. I have my notebook and write down things about people and stuff like that. Books like that. Books like that were definitely the things that love reading. The Hobbit, just kind of really getting deep into stuff, sinking deep in and embracing it, and still getting that kind of feeling good couple of times a year as well already. Number 3, what is one reading habit you're still trying to develop? And he does list kind of little helpful things like reading consistency, annotation, visiting libraries, etc. I think for me, just like making sure I give myself good hunks of time to read and avoid picking up the other devices and allowing myself to get distracted. Obviously, that was something when I was growing up, because I'm a geezily old 50+ person. I didn't have that. There was maybe a television, there was radio and stuff like that, but there was precious little to in comparison to nowadays to distract me. So yes, it's very much about putting down my devices. Oftentimes, like I do read mostly ebooks, but I read them on like dedicated devices, Kindle, Kobo, stuff like that, where I can just reading on that. And even if I have this urge to want to look something up, the little distracto brain, I've got that there. But it's still something where you can find yourself like, oh, I just watched shorts for the last 3 hours. I could have just been reading my book then, and that's a real goddamn shame. I actually use Hank Green made a thing called Focus Friend app, which I'll often just set up on my phone, which is basically for the next hour we're going to shut down these things on your phone. So if I crack and I break, it'll say, oh, do you want to interrupt your little bean knitting? And it's like, I don't. So I put it down and I go back to my reading. So that is always a continuing, even for a geezily old person, that maintaining that kind of a focus that you need, and the really rewarding focus of sitting down and just immersing yourself in a book for a good hunk of time. that is still, I still need to maintain that, even as what I would say is I'm a pretty senior reader by now. So yeah, I mean, that's something that, even if you're a beginner reader and you get distracted, do not let that discourage you, because it's just something that you live in the modern world. You have all these wondrous devices. Oh my God, I cannot believe, I would have been complete toast as a child if I had had access to the technology that I do today. That is for sure. Number 4, what genre surprised you the most? I think the genre that surprised me the most as a cis semi-straight dude is to be enjoying romance novels. That is not something that I expected to be enjoying at this point. There's a Kate Healy series, the Olympus Inc. series, which I really enjoy. I listened to a podcast just called Reading Smut, which it's very much, it's female focused, deservedly so, and talking about kind of the joys of kind of smutty romance fiction. That's not where I expected me as a little BA English dude. I was never that snooty. I mean, I've always been reading science fiction and fantasy and stuff like that. So, but also reading literature. But yeah, definitely as a younger guy, I was like completely looking down on romance, which is nonsense. It is. There's some amazing storytellers there and a lot of fun to be had there, and I'm all about. There's different types of fun, but there's definitely fun to be had in the romance genre. So that would be my happy thing that I did not expect to get into. What's one book that intimidated you before you started reading it? I don't know. I mean, I have hanging around a bunch of books that I think are like intimidating. Like I still have not done this. I've started it a couple of times, Ulysses, and I haven't finished it. I read Proust over a year and a half or more. That was with sandwiching other lighter books within it that were intimidating that way. I think that's a big Mount Everest, I think, of reading Proust. And I mean, if you're into it, which I was, really amazing. If you're not into it, just put it down and walk away, because it's an effort. It's an effort whether you love it or not. For me, I got the enjoyment out of it that it was an effort. If it, and I think that's the thing with anything like this. It's like, if you enjoy, I mean, okay, let's set aside like you're in school and stuff, and it's like, yeah, you need to get the stuff written for whatever. But if you're out of school, find stuff that brings you joy. And part of joy can be challenge. That is always the thing to sing. And yeah. And the other follow-up for this, and do you still want to read it someday? And yes, this Ulysses is probably intimidating, and I do want to read it someday. There's actually, I think it's Penguin is coming out with an annotated version of Ulysses, which I've got a pre-order on ebook. Which I'm looking forward to when it actually comes out. They've already set it back once already, but yeah, I think that would be kind of a useful thing. I don't know how far I'm going to get into the annotations. I mean, it's not super annotated, because sometimes I find that annoying too. It's like sometimes you just got to let things flow over you, and understand with something like Ulysses, for me, a guy of indifferent intellect and indifferent education, even with BA, but it's a BA. Come on, let's be serious here. It's like I'm gonna miss, probably in the case of Ulysses, 95% of the book, but I will try to. Hopefully I will read it and I will enjoy the fuck out of the 5%. I do understand. Maybe I'm underselling myself with 5%, but yeah. So I do still want to read that book at some point. Number 6, how has reading changed your life so far? Well, I sit down and I read a lot. That, I guess, is a change. I don't spend my time on other pursuits that I could have pursued otherwise. It's probably changed my personality and my outlook on life. It's one of these things of just fiction, nonfiction, just getting to hang around. Like for me, nonfiction is like getting to hang around in somebody else's head and try and bridge that what is an unbridgeable gap of my consciousness with another human being's consciousness. And I find fiction really affecting for that. Though nonfiction can do that as well. I just read Elliot Page's his memoir recently, and that was like, oh, okay, a little bit. And you know, you're never going to be. I'm never going to be a trans man. I'm me, but just getting little glimpses between the bars is wow. That is so amazing. Stuff like that. So yeah. I mean, it's big global changes, and there's somewhere around here I have one book which is a book of grammar rules. It was basically teaching grammar, where for whatever hiccup in high school, I never got proper teaching of how to construct sentences. And over one summer, I just went through this very mechanical book and it self-taught. You know, it taught me proper grammar, at least on the written page. I'm not going to make any claims to being able to write, to speak in proper grammatic sentences. But that book changed my life in the sense that if I hadn't found that book and done that, I would have never gotten a BA in English, because I wouldn't have been able to write any of my papers, and probably help me be a better, or help lift up my organizational skills, at least in language, just a little bit. So that's a big change in life, I guess, if you want to put it there. Very humble, practical one, but yeah, one that's true there, other than, you know, reading all the great works of literature and such like that. You know, there's this whole thing of like, how functional should reading be? There is, you know, functional reading. Functional reading, functional writing. I read and I write for work as a support worker. So that is very functional reading that, like, you know, I need for my job. But so much of the reading I do is fiction. Even the nonfiction, if I'm learning about the Roman Empire, is that functional? Is that purpose? I am not one of these people who is like, oh, I got to get return on investment and all this bullshit. It's like, that's not how I live my life. I live my life to enjoy, to enrich, but not enrich in a way of like my bank account or something like that. So yeah. Number 7, what's one reading myth you've discovered isn't true? Well, I guess that return on investment thing, we'll count that as my as a myth, as what I think is you're making yourself a hamster on a wheel. Don't do that. Number 8, if you could ask experienced readers one question, what would it be? I don't know. I mean, I'm an experienced reader. I think, though, one of the things that I've enjoyed about BookTube is getting little insights into other experienced readers and people who are, you know, I read, but like there's people there who are like all whole giant, way many more levels, way above me, you know, who are immersed in books in a way that I could never even aspire to, and I enjoy hanging around. I'm getting to kind of video-wise hang around with those people. I don't actually ever meet anyone. I'm a bookish, neurotic shut-in, you know, stuff like that. So yeah, BookTube. It's kind of a vibe thing, man. I don't think there's an actual thing in there, other than it's just an affirmation of, yeah, this is, wow, we're the luckiest people in the world. You're so lucky if you are a reader, so lucky, and I thank my lucky stars for that every day, because it's such a big and important part of my life. Number 9, what's one reading goal you hope to accomplish in the next year? It doesn't have to be a number of books. It could be trying a new genre, rereading a favorite, or building a small library. I don't think I have one of those at the moment. I mean, I'm doing a project. It's a 1901 project where I'm reading books all centered around my grandfather's birth in 1901. So from 1890 to 1910. And that's kind of an ongoing kind of little project. I don't know if it's a goal, but it's an ongoing project where I try and pluck out books, a lot of times books that are in the that were published in that period, so they're out of copyright and I can read them out loud. That's kind of a fun project for myself, just kind of really immersing yourself in a time period. Yeah, so I guess that is my goal. And number 10 is tag others, which I probably won't do, but you should definitely go and check out Mike at Bibliophile Bookscape, because he really comes up with some interesting tags, and this is definitely one of them. All right, I will leave it there. I have been Jay. More videos later.